You deserve better, sis, and I need you to let that truth hit deeper than the lies you've been telling yourself just to get through the day. Deeper than the noise of a world that has asked you to shrink, to compromise, to quiet your voice, to question your worth, to settle for less than your birthright, because you were not born to beg for love. You were not created to chase validation. You were not designed to pour endlessly into people who treat your heart like an afterthought while you carry their weight like a badge of honor. No, sis, you deserve better, and you always have. Even the moments you convinced yourself that crumbs were a feast, even in the seasons where survival made you wear strength like armor and silence like a song, even in the relationships that left you bruised and breathless, still calling it love when it was really just trauma wrapped in hope. You deserve better than apologies with no change, better than promises broken as often as they were made, better than being the backup plan for someone who only shows up when life humbles them, better than being the emotional dumping ground for people who never ask how you're doing, better than work yourself into the ground to prove you're valuable to a system that never saw your soul, better than betraying your own boundaries to be seen as loyal, better than dimming your brilliance so someone else could feel comfortable in their insecurities, better than walking on eggshells in a house you help build, better than being everything to everybody and nothing to yourself, better than carrying burdens that were never yours to hold while hiding your tears behind a tired smile. Sis, I see you, the you who gives and gives until there's barely anything left. The you who shows up even when no one shows up for you. The you who holds the whole world together but falls apart in silence because somewhere along the way, you learned that your pain wasn't allowed to be loud, that your exhaustion wasn't valid, that your dreams had to wait until everyone else was okay. But baby, this is your wake-up call. This is your healing moment. This is your permission slip to want more, need more, expect more, and not apologize for it, because wanting better doesn't make you ungrateful. It makes you aware. Needing better doesn't make you selfish. It makes you human. Expecting better doesn't make you difficult. It makes you divinely aligned with the truth that your peace is sacred. Your body is not a battleground. Your heart is not a garbage can for people's baggage. Your time is not a free-for-all. Your purpose is not up for negotiation, and your spirit was never meant to live in a cage of expectations that keep you performing, pleasing, pretending. Sis, you are allowed to say no without guilt, to walk away without closure, to heal without explaining, to change your mind without permission, to rest without earning it, to speak your truth even when your voice trembles, to put yourself first without apology, to be soft and strong at the same time, to outgrow people who were never meant to go where you're going, to choose peace over proving, to live fully without shame, and to rise even if you have to rise alone, because the better you deserve isn't waiting on them to change, waiting on you to choose it. You deserve better, sis, and not just when you're strong and glowing and in your power, but even when you're broken, tired, messy, healing, figuring it out day by day, because your worth is not based on your productivity. Your value is not measured by how much you can endure without complaining. Your beauty is not tied to how perfectly you can wear your pain, and your brilliance doesn't disappear just because you're walking through a storm. You deserve better even when you're doubting yourself, even when you've made mistakes, even when you're grieving what you thought life would be. Because better isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about showing up for yourself in ways you always showed up for others. It's about realizing that being a good woman does not mean being a doormat, that being loyal does not mean losing yourself, that being loving does not mean sacrificing your soul, and you've been conditioned to believe that being too much is something to be ashamed of, that having standards is too demanding, that having boundaries makes you cold, that having ambition means you're intimidating. But sis, the only ones intimidated by your shine are those committed to staying in the dark. The only ones calling you difficult are the ones who benefited from your silence. The only ones calling you selfish are the ones who were never willing to pour into you like you poured into them. And now that you're waking up, now that you're remembering who you are, now that you're reclaiming the pieces of yourself you gave away just to be chosen, they're uncomfortable because they can't control a woman who knows her worth. They can't manipulate a woman who is no longer afraid to be alone. They can't guilt trip a woman who is healed from people pleasing. They can't fool a woman who has done the inner work and decided to love herself first. And sis, loving yourself is not just about bubble baths and vacations. It's about speaking up when you'd rather stay silent. It's about walking away when everything in you wants to stay. It's about telling the truth even when it shatters illusions. It's about giving yourself grace when you fall short and not spiraling into self-blame. It's about honoring your intuition and not silencing it to keep the peace. It's about trusting that your needs are valid, your dreams are valid, your voice is valid, and you don't have to earn rest, love, or freedom. They are your birthright, and yes, The road to better may be lonely at times, may be uncertain, may stretch you in ways that feel uncomfortable, but discomfort is not the enemy. It's the birthplace of your becoming. It's the space where you shed the old skin, where you unlearn the lies, where you step into the version of yourself we're always meant to be. And no, not everyone will understand your shift. Not everyone will cheer for your boundaries. Not everyone will clap when you walk away from dysfunction. But that's okay, because this season is not about being understood. It's about being true. This chapter is not about being liked. It's about being aligned. This moment is not about making others comfortable. It's about making your soul whole. And that, sis, is the kind of better you deserve. You deserve better, sis, and I mean the kind of better that doesn't come wrapped in empty words and temporary gestures, but the kind of better that shows up for you consistently, loves you without conditions, speaks your name with reverence, protects your peace like it's sacred, and honors your presence like the gift that it is, because you are not just another option, not a backup plan, not someone's convenience, not a placeholder until they figure out what they want. And you've spent too much of your life giving platinum love to people who only ever offered you spare change in return. Too much time accepting less just to say you had something. Too many nights convincing yourself that your needs were too much when really they were just unmet. Too many seasons shrinking your dreams to fit into lives that couldn't handle your calling. And baby girl, that stops now, because you deserve more than almost love, more than half effort, more than emotional roller coasters disguised as passion, more than being tolerated by people who should have been celebrating you, more than being a secret when you were born to be seen, more than silence when what you gave was your whole soul. And if no one told you this before, let me be the first to say it. Your heart is not a revolving door, your time is not disposable, your magic is not common, your presence is not something to be taken lightly. And the way you show up for others should be the blueprint for how you show up yourself, because you deserve the love you keep giving away. You deserve the care you keep pouring into everyone else. You deserve the softness you offer in hard places, the grace you extend to those who mishandle you, the loyalty you give without hesitation. And I know it hurts to look around and realize that not everyone is built like you, not everyone loves like you, not everyone shows up like you. And I know that truth can make you feel lonely, discouraged, like maybe you're asking for too much or dreaming too big. But sis, your standards are not the problem. Your heart is not the problem. Your desire for reciprocity is not too much. It's just that you've been in rooms too small for your spirit. You've been around people who needed you to shrink so they could feel tall. You've been in circles that could only handle the broken version of you because your healed self would require them to rise. And now that you're healing, now that you're growing, now that you're starting to remember that you deserve to be chosen, not begged for, not earned, not tolerated, but chosen, honored, cherished, you're starting to see that being alone in your peace is better than being surrounded in your pain. You're starting to understand that solitude can be sacred, that your own company is enough, that the real love you're looking for starts with how you treat yourself when no one else is watching, that self-respect isn't negotiable, that your peace is the price you no longer put on sale. And when you start moving like you deserve better, you stop entertaining what no longer serves you, you stop explaining what should be obvious, you stop accepting confusion in the name of love, and you start walking like the woman who knows her worth, even if your voice shakes, even if your knees tremble, even if you cry on your way to freedom, because freedom is worth it. You're worth it, sis. Every part of you is worth better. You deserve better, sis, and I need you to stop settling for relationships that require you to prove your worth every single day. Environments that only see your value when you're producing. Friendships that take and take without ever pouring back into you. Cycles that keep you exhausted but call it love, because real love, real respect, real connection don't make you beg. Don't make you question your sanity. Don't make you lose yourself to keep someone else whole. And yes, I know it's scary to imagine letting go of what you've known, even if it's been hurting you, because the familiar can't feel safe even when it's toxic. But this isn't the season to stay where you're barely surviving just because you're afraid to be alone. This isn't the chapter where you keep stitching together broken pieces hoping it'll finally feel whole. This is the chapter where you finally believe that your healing is more important than their comfort, that your clarity is more important than their confusion, that your destiny is too big to be stuck in a place that only feeds your doubt. And sis, don't confuse consistency with compatibility. Just because someone has been in your life for years doesn't mean they're meant to stay. Just because you've grown used to chaos doesn't mean it's love. Just because they apologize doesn't mean they've changed. And just because you miss them doesn't mean you should go back. Because growth hurts, yes, but so does staying stuck. And you've got to choose pain that leads to peace. Choose the discomfort that leads to healing. Choose the unfamiliar that leads to freedom. And I know you've been the strong one, the reliable one, the one who always keeps it together. But this is your permission to fall apart, to rest, to ask for help, to not have all answers, because you don't have to be the superhero all the time. You don't have to carry everyone else's weight while yours goes unnoticed. And you don't have to keep pretending you're fine when your soul is tired. Sis, it's okay to outgrow the version of you that kept choosing others over yourself. It's okay to want a life that feels soft, nurturing, gentle, supportive, and full of joy. It's okay to change your mind, change your circle, change your boundaries, change your direction, because this journey is yours and you don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing better. You don't owe anyone the broken version of you just so they feel comfortable. And you don't have to keep returning to pain just because healing feels unfamiliar. And I know you've cried, I know you've doubted, I know you've questioned if better is even possible. But let me remind you, the fact that you're still here, still showing up, still willing to grow, still hoping for more, that's proof that better is not only possible, it's promised if you keep choosing you, keep choosing peace, keep choosing purpose, keep choosing the life that loves you back. And I'm not saying it'll be easy. I'm not saying the path will be perfect, but I am saying you'll look back and realize that every step you took toward your worth was worth it. Every tear you cried was watering your future. Every boundary you set was building your freedom. And every time you said, I deserve better, the universe responded with doors that only open for a woman who finally knows her value. You deserve better, sis, and the truth is you always have, even when you didn't know it, even when you forgot it, even when the world told you otherwise through its rejections, its betrayals, its dismissals, and you tried to shrink yourself to fit in, tried to earn love by overgiving, tried to be palatable by softening your brilliance. But the thing about playing small is that it never protects you from pain. It only delays your growth, and growth is calling your name now. Healing is calling your name now. Peace is calling your name now, and it's okay if your voice shakes as you answer. It's okay if your hands tremble as you walk toward a new life, because courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, try again. And you, my sister, have tried so many times to be everything for everyone but yourself, and it's time to rewrite the narrative that says you have to break yourself to be loved, that you have to tolerate dysfunction to be worthy, that you have to settle because you've been single too long, or because you're getting older, or because they have potential. You are not here to be a savior. You are not here to carry grown people who refuse to grow. You are not here to accept the bare minimum and call it a blessing. You are here to be honored, to be respected, to be cherished, to be free. And if they can't rise to meet you, that is not your burden to carry, because sis, love should not hurt all the time. Support should not come with strings. Friendship should not be one-sided. Your dreams should not be optional, and your voice should not be silenced in the very spaces where you give your heart. And maybe right now you're standing at the edge of a hard decision. Maybe you're asking yourself if walking away means failure, if starting over means you wasted your time. But let me tell you, choosing better is never failure. Healing is never a waste, and you didn't lose those years. You learned in them, you grew in them, and now you get to take what you've learned and become the woman you were always meant to be. And yes, some people will not understand your decision to rise. They will call you selfish for reclaiming your joy. They will call you bitter for choosing boundaries. They will call you disloyal for walking away from what no longer serves you. But remember this, your loyalty should never be a prison, your kindness should never be a curse, and your love should never cost your peace. And I know it's hard, I know letting go is scary, but what's scarier is staying stuck. What's scarier is waking up years from now realizing you abandoned yourself to keep someone else comfortable. And I need you to know it's not too late, it's not too far gone, it's not impossible. You can still choose yourself, you can still heal, you can still grow, you can still build a life that reflects the love you so freely give. You can still find joy, still find peace, still find your voice and use it like the sacred weapon it is, because you were never meant to survive your whole life. You were meant to live it fully, and that kind of living only happens when you know, deep down in your bones, that you deserve better. You deserve better, sis, and this moment right here, this breath, this heartbeat, this truth rising up in your chest, is your invitation to finally believe it, not just say it when you're feeling strong, but to claim it even when you're shaking, to hold on to it even when the tears won't stop, to walk In it even when your knees buckle under the weight of everything you've carried for so long. Because I see you. I see how long you've been putting on the brave face. How many times you've said, I'm fine. When you were really falling apart inside, how you've laughed to keep from crying. How you've kept showing up for everyone else while secretly praying anyone, would see you and pour into you the way you've poured into them. But let me say this loud so your spirit hears it. You are not invisible, you are not forgotten, and the way you love, the way you nurture, the way you hold people together, it matters, it's powerful, and it deserves to be returned, not exploited, not drained, not taken for granted. And I know it's hard to let go of things that once brought you comfort, even if they're now causing you pain, but growth requires grief sometimes, healing requires separation sometimes, elevation requires solitude sometimes, and it's okay to outgrow what once fit. It's okay to want more, need more, expect more, and demand more, because better is not just a dream. It's a decision, a boundary, a standard you no longer lower for temporary companionship, for shallow validation, for attention that disappears when you need it most. And you've got to get real clear, sis, real clear about the kind of energy you allow into your space, the kind of language you allow to be spoken over your life, the kind of behaviors you no longer tolerate just to feel wanted. Because wanting is not the same as being valued. Attraction is not the same as commitment. Being seen is not the same as being respected. And there's a big difference between someone who wants access to your body and someone who wants to build with your soul. And I need you to know that your softness is not weakness. Your strength is not intimidating. Your emotions are not too much. Your love is not a liability. And your dreams are not negotiable. And the ones who get it will rise to meet you, not shrink you to keep their own comfort intact, not guilt you into staying silent, not shame you for having needs, but instead, they'll celebrate your boundaries, respect your standards, honor your heart, and support your healing. And until those people show up, you get to be that for yourself. You get to affirm your own worth, hold space for your own tears, clap for your own growth, and stand in your own power without waiting for external applause. Because sometimes the better you deserve starts with how you treat you, how you show up for yourself, how you speak to yourself in the quiet, and how deeply you believe you are worthy of the life you've been dreaming of. You deserve better, sis, and I don't mean better like a luxury car or a fancy vacation. I mean better like inner peace that doesn't leave you at night when the world goes quiet. Better like the kind of love that sees you and stays, not just when you're glowing, but when you're grieving, when your hair's not done and your smile's tired. I mean better like a life that doesn't ask you to compromise your truth just to belong. Better like waking up and no longer wondering if you're enough, because you finally remembered that you always were, even when they didn't see it, even when they tried to make you feel like you had to work for their love, earn your seat at the table, apologize for simply needing rest or desiring softness or asking for consistency. And you've got to stop settling for crumbs and calling it nourishment. Stop settling for almosts and maybes and broken promises dressed up as hope, because what's real doesn't need to manipulate you into staying. What's real doesn't guilt you into silence. What's real doesn't disappear when things get hard. And sis, I know the world tried to convince you that your value was tied to your productivity, your look, relationship status, your ability to endure pain without complaint. But that was a lie designed to keep you chasing approval instead of standing in your truth. And I'm here to tell you that your worth is not up for debate, not up for negotiation, not up for reduction just because else can't see it, and you don't need to keep proving yourself to people who benefit from your doubt. You don't need to keep dimming your light for people who are allergic to shine. You don't need to keep explaining why you deserve respect when that should be the minimum. You don't need to beg for what you've always been worthy of, and sometimes better looks like closing doors you once kept open out of fear. Sometimes better looks like choosing silence over drama, peace over chaos, alignment over attachment, and I know that's hard. I know it's tempting to go back to what's familiar even when it's painful, but you've come too far, survived too much, grown too beautifully to return to places that made you forget who you were. And this time, when you walk away, let it be with your head held high, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in clarity, in love for yourself, in reverence for your journey, because you're not just walking away from something, you're walking towards something greater, something softer, something truer, and you may not see it yet. But on the other side of your courage is a life that feels like exhale, a love that feels like truth, a peace that doesn't require performing, and a joy that's rooted in you finally realizing You were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong people, and now you're done asking, you're done waiting, you're done explaining, you're done proving, and you're finally choosing you the way you always deserve to be chosen.